Hi there guys, Ken here, your thrifty apprentice, and in today's video we are going to be taking a look at Staedtler 36 count double-ended watercolor brush pens, as well as Staedtler 36 count double-ended fiber tip dual color pens. They are both water soluble pens made by Staedtler, which is a German company with a pretty well known reputation. Staedtler has been around and been in use for quite some time. I just want to take the beginning of this video to do a very quick demo with you guys so that you would get a chance to see how the brush pens performed and to see them in action before we actually jumped into the review. I decided to do this in a time-lapse format for the demo, and hopefully it is not moving too fast for you to be able to see the effects of the water-soluble pens as they are being used. Right after this, we will be jumping into the review, so if you stay tuned, we'll be there in just a few minutes. See you on the other side of this demo. So we are taking a look at Staedtler water-based pens today. We are going to be taking a look at a 36 count of double-ended watercolor brush pens. And we're also going to be taking a look at a 36 count of watercolor fiber tip pens. Now, I only have one swatch sheet here, and that's because these are the exact same colors in both pens, the exact same ink. They perform exactly the same way. The only difference in them are the tips, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. So they both come in very similar packaging. Unfortunately, I don't have the package for this set because this set was actually a gift that was sent by a friend out in Texas. And this set is a set that I picked up from my local Michael's, but we'll talk about places that you can get it in, how much it'll cost in just a few minutes. You guys got to see the little quick demo right before the review started, just because I wanted to give you a quick little glimpse. Hopefully it didn't move too fast for you to really get a little glimpse into how the markers performed. So, not much on the packaging. It just says 36 double-ended watercolor brush pens. This one would say double-ended fiber tip pens, dual color. The only other writing on the front says watercolor. It shows you the tips being a brush and a fine tip. Over on the back, double-ended watercolor fiber tip pens with brush tip for beautiful watercolor effects on most watercolor paper, ideal for detailed sketching and illustrations. Staedtler is out of Germany, and the pens are made in Italy. Mind you, Staedtler is a company that I'm familiar with. I do a lot of my pencil sketching. Have used their sketching set for years and years. It's been given to me in every single art class I've ever taken, so I was kind of familiar with their products when I ran across these in Michael's and I picked them up. Let's take a real quick look at the pens themselves. Now, the packaging, like most markers, does not come with any lightfast or pigment information. As far as I know, the only pigment markers out there are by Winsor & Newton. Their watercolor markers, brush markers, are pigment-based and lightfast, and so are their pigment-based alcohol markers. So for all intents and purposes, I really wasn't expecting that information. However, the barrels do not contain any names either, so I just came up with a numbering system for the pens, 1 through 36, since that's how many that are in here. I put them in somewhat of a rainbow order by my eye, and I swatched them out and put the corresponding number to that pen on the swatch sheet, just so I would have a reference guide to go by. And that's actually a really quick, cute little tip that I offer you guys, and I've told you about it before in when we were reviewing watercolor pencils, that if the product doesn't come with a name or a number on it, go ahead and grab your little piece of masking tape, you know, put your product in the color order that you prefer, swatch it out in that color order, and then number it correspondingly between pen and swatch. That way you can always go back and grab that color by looking at the swatch. Oh, well, I need this, I need that. So that's just a quick little tip. That's something that I do with economical products that don't contain color names. So, taking a quick look at the pen themselves, it's just a standard plastic barrel. It's not the, you know, most heavily produced, but it's not all that flimsy. The caps remove really, really easily from both pens, this one and this set as well. While we're at it, since we're looking at it, I'm just going to go ahead and grab one of these pens. See, the caps remove just as easily on these. The brush pens are their 3000 series. Is 3001 is the number for that set. And for the fiber tip duo color pens, the number for that set is 320. And I'm just giving you that information for future reference, just in case you decide to source one of these particular pens. Now, the water brush pen comes with a brush tip, a fiber brush tip, as well as a fine tip. And the fine tip is 8.8 millimeter. And the duo pen comes with their version of what's known as a chisel. You guys can see that. It's sort of a bullet, more so. A bullet tip, and then also a fine tip as well. So now the reason I don't have two sets of swatches again is because these colors are exactly the same. I've played with them over and over again just to make sure, so it didn't make any sense in my head to swatch them out twice. So let's just take a look at the swatches here. Now that we've looked at the pens, let me see if I can get this back in here, and we're just gonna sit these to the side because that's pretty much all there is to it. Staedtler is a pretty well-known company. They've been around for quite some time, so I really was expecting really good performances from these. As you can see in the little demo that was shown right before this review, the pens do have a very saturated color. They're actually really bright and pretty, even after dried down. Now you can see here, I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit more on the swatch section, and I'll just move the book around if I have to. So after I had swatched these out, there were times when I accidentally dropped water into the swatch, and it caused the pigment to move, or it caused a bloom. It caused a marker bloom, which is actually pretty cool. I might actually try that as an effect on a card coming up using markers. And that's something I discovered by accident just swatching. Now, I've done quite a few paintings with these markers just to get a feel for them. Now, these are definitely a dye-based marker. The colors will lift. The pigment will move, as I just showed you. However, as you can see from my marker line here, the colors are actually very transparent. There is no opacity to them at all. They layer well because of that. So, you know, those are some of the greater qualities about the pens. We're definitely going to get to the price in a moment because they are on the economical range. Staedtler typically has some really economical products. And I'm kind of curious in trying out their watercolor paints as well, so stay tuned for that. But they have a nice range of colors here, some pretty reds and greens. There are several blues in the set, especially the watercolor brush set. They're the exact same colors in both sets, so there are several blues in the sets, period. Didn't really understand the need for all the blues. Some of them are pretty close to each other. They have some really nice earth tones. I love the reddish brown tones, the imitations of the burnt umber and burnt sienna. I thought those colors were really pretty. So, you know, all in all, up front, nice product. Let's take a look at some things that I did with it right quick. Now, these first two paintings were done on Canson XL mixed media paper, and I've come to discover that these pens and the way they perform really do depend on the paper. Now, this swatch sheet is actually done on the very first page of one of those brand new Arteza journals that I showed you guys in the birthday haul video. And this paper is very absorbent. I mean, like super absorbent. So like time you put the marker ink down, it like soaks into the paper, which made it kind of hard to disperse the pigment as I was trying to drag out a lighter wash in my swatches, just so I can get a feel for the different variation of colors that they would give, which a lot of these colors are kind of recognizable. I mean, I would shoot for that being a gamboge color. That would probably be a version of a yellow ochre, definitely a lemon yellow or a bright yellow, and more of a cad or a deep yellow there. There's a nice and crimson maybe. Violet and purple are both in the set. I definitely recognize the more cobalty. There's a turquoise color in here. More of an ultramarine maybe, or a natural blue, should I say. This color reminds me a lot of a Prussian blue. So there's a nice color selection, definitely. Now, on the Canson XL paper, because I don't think the paper is as absorbent, the pens performed better and gave me better control. As you can see here from the little sample painting on our swatch sheet, I had a lot of bloomage going on, and it caused the pigment to disperse outside of the lines of the flower that I was drawing. And, you know, I kind of got so frustrated as I was doing it. And of course, that little demo you guys saw was sped up. It literally took me almost 30 minutes to do this little flower, simply because I became so frustrated with how absorbent the paper was and how quick the pigment went into the paper before I really had time to get it dispersed the way I wanted to. And then once you added water to the pigment, once it was laid on the paper, it kind of, as it did here, it pushes the pigment out. So it caused it to go outside the lines, which is the exact opposite of what it did on the Canson XL paper. Actually, it gave me beautiful effects. I love these markers on this paper. For all intents purposes. I mean, if it's a supply that I have to use, it's a supply that I would have to use, and I would definitely be able to create something with it. Now, I don't know if you guys can see that, but after they dry, especially on a paper that doesn't really absorb it all that much, they have like this little crystallization. It is so pretty. It's really, really nice. Not so much on the Arteza paper, but I actually like this paper. So it's nothing against the paper itself. It's just that because of the quality of this paper versus the quality of the XL, I just think the pens, brush pens perform a little bit better on the XL paper. Let's take a look at this next one, which is a dandelion. And in case you guys don't know, that's a lady slipper. But this is a dandelion that I did using the brush pens. And again, I was able to achieve nice coverage. I was able to keep my highlights, really control the pigment. Now, the difference is this one is pen directly to paper. I did not in any shape, form, or fashion use any palette. I just used a pen directly on the paper, used a brush pen to disperse my pigments and paint it that way. On the dandelion, I actually used the pens in the methods that you kind of saw them in the demo, where I scribbled them out on a plastic palette and then used a brush and water in order to paint with. And it offered much better control doing it that way. So, you know, that's one of the things you may want to keep in mind. If you're going to be using the pens, especially for painting, then definitely you may want to consider scribbling them out on a palette. But hey, if you're going to really be doing that where you're scribbling them all out, you might as well just use watercolors. Now, again, these are not lightfast, so this is not anything that I would suggest in any shape, form, or fashion for something that you are necessarily going to hang on a wall for an extended period of time, give as a gift, or sell. But they'll work well for scrapbook work, card making, something you're going to send off just to say hello, thank you, happy birthday, something of that sort. And they will actually, I think, are a great product probably for kids as well. And I'm not even sure if that's their target market, because I think these are more of a student grade than a scholarly or a school grade product. Just because of the pigmentation in them, just because of how vibrant and beautiful they are, I think that they're definitely meant to target crafters, or maybe people who do calligraphy or something of that nature. So let's get down to talking about the little cons real quick, running through them, because I have talked more so about the things that I like about the pens. You should also know these things that I've discovered that I don't like so much. Now, some of the pens are really juicy, some of them are dry, and this was directly out of the package. So there was not a lot of consistency in the ink of the barrels of each pen from pen to pen. As I told you, the color spreads when it's wet. The paint is gonna bloom. I'm sorry, the ink is gonna bloom depending on the type of paper that you're using. So you definitely want to keep that in mind in case you're looking for something that's more universal and it's gonna work well on pretty much any paper. Of course, the longer it takes to interact with the ink, to interact with the water, the harder it is to spread, especially if you're doing pen directly to paper versus using the pen on a palette. And of course, I've only tried it on mixed media paper, so my opinion is based off of the fact that I use mixed media paper for 90% of everything that I do. Now, I am going to try it on watercolor paper, and maybe I'll go back and I may discover something that'll cause me to come back and update the description of this video after doing that. But as it stands on the paper that I use more than anything, these are how I have seen this is how I've seen these pens perform. If you guys remember, I had a mixed media art journal Sunday video go up not too long ago where you also saw me use these pens, and I was using it to create bubbles in a stencil. And one of the problems that I ran into with it is that because it's a fiber tip, it frayed, and it frayed really badly. It frayed really badly to the point where it almost made it difficult for me to swatch it. Now, I have since kind of pampered it a little bit, and it's working okay. And I wish I could remember exactly which. It was one of the blues, and I'm not sure which one it was, but it was one of the blues, and it really did kind of eat up the fiber tip. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind when purchasing these pens. They are a fiber tip, and it is prone to have wear and tear as you use it. And I don't think these pens come open stock, so if you should happen to mess one of them up, then you would more than likely have to buy a pack in order to obtain that color again. So this is definitely something to keep in mind as well. But they are a very economical product, so I really wouldn't expect them to be open stock anyway. And you can remove the caps. I mean, like, completely remove the cap. I won't do it, but you can see here they can be removed. And I think there may be like a pad in there. So these could be refilled when they go dry, or re-inked or re-wet in order to get the last of the ink out of them. So once they're used up, as long as I haven't completely destroyed the tips from using them, then I'm probably more than likely going to see if I can possibly re-ink them. And I'll let you guys know how that goes as well. Let's see, am I missing anything? I'm just checking out my notes right quick because I did make a few. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the pros and the cons that I've run across. Let's talk about price right quick. We're going to talk about the 320 fiber tip duo color pen. This is the one with the bullet chisel end and the fine point. This one, and I just kind of typed both of these into the Google search engine to kind of give me all of the places that I could find them at locally. You can get these at Staples, the 36 count, for like $13.49. I couldn't find them on Amazon at all. They are listed on Michaels for $25.99 currently for the 36 count. Of course, they have a 20% discount coupon for online and in-store, which brings the pens down to $20.80 if you're interested in more of the bullet chisel and fine tip. If you happen to be interested in the fine tip brush pen, then these can be found. Now, I got mine on a real good deal because they are $25.99, and I got mine with a 40% off coupon back before all this craziness started, and 40% coupons were a regular thing that Michael sent out. So I really only paid about $15.50 for my 36 count of brush pens. But currently you can get them on Michaels for $25.99 with the 20% off. They're going to run you $20.80, the same amount as this set would run you. They are on Amazon, but they are not currently available by any sellers. And Amazon is saying that they're not sure when they'll be back in stock. I found this set 36 count on Office Depot. You can get them for $26.99, which is actually more than Michael's with the coupon. And then on Walmart.com, I found an 18 pack. And the only reason I chose the 18 pack from Walmart, there wasn't a 36, and the biggest step up from that was 72. So the 18 pack, I think, would give you the primary colors that you need in order to really get something done if you're interested in them. And it was only $16.61. So nitty gritty of it all is, I think that for the current running price of the pens, the fact that they're fiber tip, they're not going to be lightfast. Not sure of how long they're going to last you in use. And depending on the type of paper, they may not necessarily perform the way that you want them to. They would definitely not necessarily be my recommendation for a beginner. I think that kids' paper has more of a glossy size into it, or the more student grade paper necessarily than this. Like if you're going to be using them in a mixed media, like a Canson mixed media journal, or using them in a mixed media journal, or on a watercolor paper that has more characteristics like the Canson, then I say go for it. If I had to do it all over again, considering the fact now that I've had the chance to experience some other brush pens, I probably, they're okay, but I would probably save up my money just a few more dollars, because there are other brush pens on the market that actually are really affordable sets that you can add just a few more bucks to, especially if you're talking about spending 25 bucks for these. Even with the discount, 20 bucks. I mean, you can get Winsor & Newton brush pens, the 12 count introductory set, which is going to have all of the colors you need to start off, and they're going to mix and perform well on each and every paper you put them on. And that's only like 25. It's in the same price range. So something to think about. Definitely something to think about. So guys, that's all I have on these. That was the Staedtler 36 count double-ended watercolor brush pen and the Staedtler 36 count fiber tip pen duo color. If you found any of this information useful or is going to help you in your decision to decide whether you're adding this to your collection, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe, and tell your friends to subscribe so you can keep up with the great things that are going to be going on with the channel. I do have a lot of good things. Well, I think they're good. I hope you do too. Planned. Head on over to the Thrifty Apprentice Facebook page. Like us there. Guys, go ahead and head over there and like us, because we're going to have some other giveaways coming up and not too long from now that are going to involve that page. And comment. I want to talk to you, and don't forget to share. Sharing is caring, and if you share, it's going to help somebody else discover us, and our community is going to become that much bigger. And as I tell you at the end of every video, just keep painting.